Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president. So why are Trump's close allies helping her? Stein was key to Trump's 2016 wins in battleground states. She's not sorry she helped Trump win. That's why a vote for Stein is really a vote for Trump.
Jill Stein, I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Well, what you just saw is kind of rare, actually. The Democratic Party, on behalf of Kamala Harris, of course, they're putting out attack ads against third-party candidate Jill Stein, who tends to run as the third-party candidate in presidential elections. And they're going after her pretty viciously because this race between Trump and Kamala Harris is very, very close. And when you look at the swing states, I mean, they're neck and neck. States like Michigan and Pennsylvania are incredibly important in order for Kamala Harris to win the Electoral College. And so I think that this is a sign of panic. And so they're going off and attacking Jill Stein to see if they can maybe hurt her electorally so she doesn't take too many votes in some of these swing states. So last week, the DNC released their new ad titled Crucial in their latest effort to basically target voters in swing states where Jill Stein is on the ballot. So let's take a look at this map. So while Stein is on the ballot in a majority of the states, Democrats are increasingly worried about Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin especially. Okay, so one of the Democrats' biggest fears is that Jill Stein could be going for like a repeat of what happened in 2016. But that also kind of gives you the impression that Jill Stein was the spoiler for Hillary Clinton in the race against Donald Trump. Is that true? Did Jill Stein make all of the difference? We're gonna dig into that in just a minute. But the fear is so great, the DNC and Kamala Harris have gained even more backup in this fight. The Gen Z advocacy group Voters of Tomorrow, which backs Harris, obviously, is launching their own attack ads against Jill Stein. They're branding the third-party candidate as a scammer. Let's take a look.
Have you ever heard of this infamous scammer? She's literally worse than Elizabeth Holmes, the Firefest guys, and Anna Delvey combined. Her name is Jill Stein, and despite the sweet old lady look, she's been scamming the entire country for over 8 years. It's kind of a lot to go through, but let's break it down. This is part 1 of the Jill Stein scam. So if you didn't know, back in 2016, she ran as a spoiler presidential candidate, just like she's doing right now. So what happened? Well, in Michigan, Stein won 51,000 votes, which isn't a lot, but Trump won by under 11,000. In Wisconsin, Trump's margin was 23,000 votes, while Stein won 31,000. And in Pennsylvania, she got 50,000 votes, and you guessed it, Trump won by 44,000. This means it was Jill Stein who put Donald Trump in the White House, and she doesn't care. Despite claiming to be a climate champion, Jill Stein can't come up with any to give about putting a man whose administration rolled back over 100 EPA regulations and pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement in the White House. When she was asked if she had any regrets about her role in helping Trump win, she said no, and she wants to do it again. We can't let that happen. Okay, come back for part 2 to learn about how she's scamming the country to help Trump win this year.
Okay, so whether we're talking about 2016 or this current presidential race, a third-party candidate should not be able to make the difference. You get what I'm saying, guys? Like, if Trump is so disastrous, it should be a cakewalk for Democrats. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. The election should not be this close to begin with. And considering the fact that it is this close, I find it incredibly problematic that the Democrats are lashing out at Jill Stein or third-party candidates instead of maybe taking a moment at reflecting, doing a little bit of self-reflection, and trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to increase our margins in states like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, where they're having problems? Why are Democrats having problems in Michigan? Gee, I wonder why. I mean, you have a huge Arab and Muslim community in Michigan, and they have been screaming from the rooftops in regard to what they want from the Democrats. But then you've got that AIPAC money, you've got, the pro-Israel lobby, and Democrats want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to take the legal bribes. And since they're taking the legal bribes, they have to carry out the best wishes of the moneyed interests, right? And so since they're unable to pivot away from the failed policies that we've seen from the Biden administration in regard to the Middle East, they're instead pivoting toward Jill Stein and lashing out against third-party candidates. I just think that it's not a smart tactic. I think it would be far better if they realized, hey, there are some moneyed interests that don't actually benefit us electorally because our base wants something entirely different from what the moneyed interests want. That's my take on it. But let's actually do a little digging because I'm curious. Was Jill Stein really the spoiler in 2016? Was she the one who made all the difference and thus handed Donald Trump a win? Well, let's take a look. So in Michigan, Wisconsin, this is an article from Vox in 2016. In Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, one could plausibly blame third parties for the outcome. In Michigan, Clinton lost by less than a percentage point, a deficit she could have recovered from with half of Stein's votes. Again, in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, where Clinton lost by 1 point, Jill Stein's votes would have covered her loss. Now, had Clinton won all 3 states, obviously she would have won the election. While people like the Democrats were quick to blame Jill Stein and her votes for the loss, or the people who voted for her for Hillary Clinton's loss, exit polling did show a different story. So under that scenario, Clinton would have won Michigan, still lost Florida and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, would have been a 48 to 48% toss-up. Clinton would have needed to win both of those states to reach 270 electoral college votes. So even in the artificial world of that exit poll that erased Stein and libertarian candidate at the time, Gary Johnson, Clinton seemed likely to lose. In the 2024 race, according to an NBC News poll released on Sunday, 1% of registered voters in the 38 states where Jill Stein is on the ballot said that they would vote for her. Harris and Trump were tied at 48% in the head-to-head results of the poll. Trump had a 1-point edge when third-party candidates were included. Both results are within the margin of error. So, there are some instances where the third-party candidate, certainly someone like RFK, would hurt Trump rather than help Trump. So it really depends on the third-party candidate. But guys, the point I'm trying to make here is it shouldn't be this close. The Democratic Party, which used to be the party of FDR, which used to have an easy time winning elections, which the old Democratic Party would have crushed Donald Trump. But I do think it's a problem that they have allowed him to take on economic messaging that is to the left of the Democratic Party, or to the left of what the Democratic Party traditionally represented. You guys, tariffs were not a right-wing thing historically in this country. Tariffs used to be supported by the Democrats. And now you have Trump going around talking about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States by implementing more tariffs against countries like China. So I don't want Kamala Harris to get into a conversation about tariffs. I don't think that's the best path for her. But I do think that if Democrats are noticing they're having a harder and harder time winning elections against someone like Donald Trump, someone who, yes, does have a criminal record, yes, has said horrific things about pretty much every group that you can imagine in this country, it should be a cakewalk. The fact that it isn't a cakewalk, I believe, is an indictment not on Jill Stein, but an indictment of the Democratic Party and how far they have fallen. And if that upsets you, that's okay. You can be upset. But it is the reality of the situation. Trump should be easy to beat. The fact that he's not really worries me. Now, Jill Stein's campaign spokesperson told Newsmax in an email, the notion that Democrats and Republicans own everyone's votes and that Greens supposedly take votes from the political establishment is preposterous. I don't think that's preposterous. I mean, obviously the third party candidate is going to take votes from the establishment or the established parties. But Nonetheless, I think blaming Jill Stein for the Democrats' loss, if that is in fact what ends up happening, is weak and pathetic and really does lack any and all self-reflection. She continues, no candidate owns your vote. They have to earn your vote. And to be fair to Kamala Harris, she keeps saying over and over again that she intends to earn people's votes. Biggest piece of advice I can give to her, maybe listen less to the Biden team that you have unfortunately brought on and listen more to whoever was advising you in the beginning of your campaign, where your popularity did shoot up. Like people loved what you had to say. People were excited. Tim Walz was a great choice. Maybe go back to a little bit more of that. I think that would actually suit her in this election.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.